Hey, welcome everybody. We're back in my wormery and I'm just looking over my hit list here. I've got a few bins in action if you've been following along. I'm referring to as my sister bins. They're now going on 3 weeks, 21 days since they were last fed. These bins have been in horizontal migration mode now for a good couple months, 2.5 months. Since they're at the 153-day age, they could be getting ready for harvesting soon. My thought was to take all the worms from both of those two bins to launch off a new bin. Obviously that bin's going to have a humongous amount of worms in it. And then take all the castings and place them into one bin, into a large bin, to allow for sort of what I've done before in the past, is sort of an evac. And then a couple more bins here. The next one is the pumpkin bin over there on the side. That one has been doing pretty good. I've been working on catching up with that one to make sure it gets fed. And that one I think might be ready for horizontal migration. So I'm going to be looking at that one from the perspective of what is it going to take? Are we ready maybe now to set it up as a horizontal migration? If yes, then we will. Same thing for the other bin down there. Since they're only 8 days apart, I'm going to be keeping these in sync with each other from now on. And then last but not least, the cardboard shoebox bin. Dryness. Dryness is the problem there, so I want to make sure that it's not getting dire yet. Let's get working on this. Assortment of food that we have today is vegetables and banana peels. These two sister bins, we're not going to be feeding these today. We're just going to size them up. These bins as a terrarium sort of, so you can see a couple stragglers have moved up into the cover to, I guess, take advantage of the condensing moisture, and all these little bits of vermicompost are just what they bring along for the ride. Cleaning here, this bin over here, take a look. The idea behind having the cover on this was to allow moisture to sort of recirculate within the bin and settle up surface. And you can see it's all moist from that occurring, and that moisture is drawing out worms on the top of the vermicompost, which is exactly what I was hoping for. Is it safe to assume that the worms are all making their way into the new feeding zone? And I would have to assume that if we look in here, we're going to see a lot of worms. So why don't we take a quick peek? Today is just to sort of assess this bin, take a closer look at how things are progressing. And based on what we find here, map out a strategy for when the harvesting of this bin might occur. To try to get some of these larger chunks to where the action is. So then the real question is still unanswered, because we haven't really looked on this side yet where the so-called finished castings are, to see if they are in fact getting close enough to be considered as finished. But I think just on an initial glance, we can already see that even all the way on this far end, the old feeding zone, which we stopped feeding about 47 days ago, according to the notes that I have there, 41 days ago. So, you know, it's almost a month and a half. But there's still big enough chunks on this side that the worms haven't fully vacated it yet. I think we've seen enough here. I think it's safe to say that this back sweep horizontal migration still needs more time. How much time, I don't know, but we're not going to get impatient. We're just going to give it whatever amount of time it needs. Very healthy, happy bin, plenty of food for them to continue working on. Everything smells good. Moisture levels seem just right. So I'm just going to quickly glance at the other one. Might as well capture it here on the video. Let's just make sure that we are in fact dealing with apples and apples here. Look at this. It's so cool how this side sort of slopes down where the worms have been, you know, eating up the material. So this is what I like to see here. This stuff starts to have this real nice fine appearance. The material, it's got a nice moisture level from the terrarium effect that we've been running here. Try to scoop up some of these larger surface chunks and put them onto the feeding zone area, since that is really where the food and feeding should be occurring. So, well, you know, maybe I'm just getting impatient. Maybe I'm thinking it should be finished sooner, but I keep trying to tell other people too to be patient. I should give myself a little bit of my own medicine and tell myself to be the same. No food for this bin. We'll just put it back on the shelf, return the terrarium tops, and let them continue as they're doing. The third bin is the bin that we've been affectionately referring to as our pumpkin bin. This is the bin that the pumpkin time lapse was prepared in. So there's a little remnant here of the pumpkin. This is the stem, or what's left of the stem from the top of the pumpkin. It does seem like the top of it's been nibbled down. I think these little pill bugs are fond of this, so I'm going to keep returning this to the middle. This is just a little paper thin piece of skin left, and they're still working on this chunk, but otherwise it's just paper thin rind of the cantaloupe remaining. That was one thing I did get a little concerned with, is the dryness in this bin. So it seems a little bit drier over here. Yeah, wow, look at that. Watch out, make sure I don't have a little garden growing here. It smells like garlic. Interesting. There is a fairly dry outer edge. And luckily it looks pretty worked. So maybe that's the reason it's dry, is that the worms are working their way to the middle where the good stuff is. You know what, let's take a look at this one. This one, it's been reduced to paper thin skin and just one little chunk which is dislodged from the skin. I think it's to be expected. They're doing quite well. Now, the feeding that occurred most recently did happen down the middle here, right in between the two melon halves. So let's see how things look in here. This has got kind of a funky smell to it, but it also has no structural integrity. It seems like it's getting pretty mushy. I think it's the stem of a cauliflower. Yeah, that's what it smells like. So I'll just open that baby up so they can really get at it. It's getting worked down quite nicely. All the other stuff that they got, in addition to that cauliflower stem, looks like it's been consumed, because I don't really see much of anything else here. Kind of what I was expecting. Let's get a handful of these guys and check them out. Oh yeah. Busy bin. I think our little experiment with the cantaloupes is done. Let's take whatever food articles we can gather here. Kind of pile them up in one location. Get them here into the corner. These cauliflower chunks. I know there's some bedding scattered down in here too, where we last fed. So this is underneath one of the cantaloupes. Plenty of worms in here. I'm going to guess same story here underneath the cantaloupes. A whole bunch more of them. A little bit more bedding. So I'm going to grab some of this bedding that I can sort of reclaim from some of the old feeding zones. We're going to use this to sort of coat the bottom of the new feeding zone on the edge. Yeah, almost everywhere you reach there's just a big wad of worms. It's pretty cool. It's just like sticking your hands into a pound of ground beef. So what I'm doing now is I'm just making some space on this far edge so that we can place all the in-progress food as well as some fresh food in. And with this we will have initiated a horizontal migration in this bin. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's take all this cardboardy type stuff, spread it out a little bit. Progress food, cantaloupe, cauliflower, some more bedding. Let's see what else we can find over here. More bedding. We got most of it. Don't have to be too precise with this. Very busy bin. Make sure we give it a good hearty feeding. Looks pretty good. Get a couple banana peels in here too. Perfect. So with that, the horizontal migration of this bin has started. So I'm just going to take some of the larger chunks that I find over here as I sift through with my fingertips and just start covering up our feeding zone. Excellent. Glad we got that taken care of. Good step in the right direction, I believe. The poor little pill bugs in this container are probably wondering, oh my goodness, what did I just do? I just turned their world upside down. These little guys were spared. They took a little ride and got some fresh air in the meantime. So they were lucky. Oh my goodness. Now this is the bin that I've been touting as my most busy bin, most heavily populated, my most rapidly moving bin. And we got a few more sprouts. I wonder what we're dealing with here. These I think are pumpkin, just judging from the roots. When I found that garlic piece earlier, it went really deep and there was a clear bulb that smelled like garlic after I squashed it. So here again, I think the game plan was to keep this in sync with the pumpkin bin. So we're gonna just go right for it. We're gonna pick the label side. We're gonna set up a horizontal migration over here on this side. How does that sound? Let's take all of this loose, uncomposted material, push it off to the side. We'll use this to cover up the feeding zone. After we create it. Up until now, the feedings have all occurred in the middle, so that's where we're going to find all the big chunks of food. We have here. Uh-oh. I did make an attempt to keep this apple as a whole, and I think I succeeded. I thought I stuck my finger through it. Definitely felt like I stuck my finger through something. This was this was what was right next to the apple, but it was so teeming with worms that I just could not make sense of what it is, and I still can't. So I don't know what it is, but it's something that they're really enjoying. But it's quite hard. Oh, you know what it is? I could tell now. Here we go. It's a mango pit. Here's where we sliced it in half. We had taken frozen mangoes, cut it right through the pit, and that's what we have here. So now we know what the popular item is. It's kind of a mystery. I felt stupid for not being able to identify it. What other big chunks of food might we find? There's another piece of corn. Same deal as before, I'm certain. Another half a mango. Now it's coming back to me. This one's really been worked. This one was a little bit lower and it's a little bit smaller. Looks like they got everything. It's all filled with castings. Yeah, baby, look at that. Busy, busy. It's not any wonder that there's hardly any signs of food remaining in here. They just rip it to shreds, especially when there's numbers like this. Just vast numbers of worms in this bin. I feel a large number of worms coming up. I thought I was driving towards a piece of food in the middle and it was just all worms. It was so dense. Looks like a chestnut, or at least the skin, remaining skin of a chestnut. It's remarkable. I guess any place there was a good scrumptious piece of food, that's where you're going to end up with a huge ball of worms working their way through whatever's left of it. Alright, so I think we've got a good base over here, a good thing to start our horizontal migration set up with. So why don't we begin excavating the new feeding zone over here. Let's just open up a little bit more space for this here and get it loaded up. Start moving all of this over. Some food. We'll be off to the last bin. Add some coffee. here. Very nice. So, the last bin we're working on here is the shoebox bin. This one's got some little roly-polies in here too. Some armadillo insects. It's kind of the way we saw it last time. The edges are dry as to be expected since the moisture is escaping through the cardboard out into the air. But the middle section is still quite nice. I believe that I'm just gonna do something kind of ordinary, which is just make some room, add some food, cover it up. Yes, it's dry, but also it's true that the worms are doing okay down the middle, so I'm not worried yet. Yep, here too. It seems like the moisture is just escaping in all directions, including down out the bottom, which was a little bit unexpected for me. I didn't realize that that was going to happen too. I think it's time to do away with this container. It's just not living up to my expectations. So there again, I don't want to react and do anything hasty. At the moment, you can obviously see that the worms are doing fine, but we're going to take care of their situation before things get any worse or any drier for them. So let's add in this food that we have left here for them. A couple banana peels and what remains of shredded veggies, including all the ice crystals, which is just going to help with the moisture situation. Some more in-progress food. Yeah, time to get out of this bin, I think. Take it from me. This is something you don't want to do at home. Do not use a shoebox as your worm bin. You've been warned. Okay. Well, that's it for today. Okay, everyone. Got a lot of castings here in my hand, so... Is this thing on? Sorry about that. Being a little bit too rough, so... I got a little bit of cleanup here to do, but that's it for today. I'll get everything here situated and cleaned up, so I'll take care of that after we sign off. So thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate your company. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate that, and hopefully we'll see you back here next time. Take care. Bye now.